we go. Let's set that wherever that works. This will go down here. Does it bend down at all, or?
Yeah, a little bit. There you
Or
Get more tip.
yeah, it doesn't. This thing doesn't have any flexibility.
go. Here, yeah, it does. A little bit. Do you have yours?
Yeah, I've got mine right
Nice and
here.
fancy.
Sorry if anyone's watching this on YouTube. There we go. There we go. A little bit better there. Yeah, I'll tinker with this, but you ready to get it going? What episode we got here?
61.
61.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a while already.
I'll continue to tinker with the Facebook stuff, but you ready?
Is that thing?
Yeah, we're going live on Twitch right now. We're
No, I
streaming.
mean the YouTube thing. It looks like there's something in front of it.
No, that's just the holder. No, this is the image. Your face. Your face. Steve's face.
Okay.
And then I'll-
Does it need to be backed up a little bit? Seems like it's.
There we go. Number 61, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so I'm gonna turn off my mic. I'm gonna turn off my microphone.
Okay.
Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check. Let me. How's your voice sounding, Tim? Let me hear you.
Check it.
Beautiful.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Steve, let me hear you guys.
Check.
Yes. All right.
Do I need
Shall we?
I guess.
this? Hello.
All right. 2. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the week for the Tim Gaither podcast, episode number 61. This week's guest, the legendary Steve Simeone, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for coming, Steve.
Thanks for asking me, buddies.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tim Gaither podcast, episode 61. And I keep hitting that thing. It's great to have you here, buddy.
It's great to just hang out.
One of my favorite, not only comedians but just people in Hollywood in general.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I feel the same way. This is great.
Yeah, it's cool in here, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Plus, I like hanging out during the day.
Yeah.
It's just more fun because we
Yeah.
always hang out at night.
Right.
So when you hang out with your comedian friends during the day, it's like when normal people hang out with their friends at night.
Yeah, I
you
dig
know?
your Goonies shirt too.
It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was always definitely one of my favorites. And even now, when it comes on, and I'm like, like on a Sunday afternoon, it's like, oh, I know what I'm doing for the next hour and a half.
Yeah, it holds up,
Switch
man.
off plans.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're freaking 12 years old again.
And the coolest thing is, like, I always think, like, did I grow up with better stuff, or is it just because it's my stuff I like it more?
Yeah,
But, like, when my nephew was 8, I showed him Goonies, and he was blown away.
you love
Like,
it.
yeah, like he loved Ghostbusters, Goonies, all the good stuff.
Yeah, we were just talking right before we started the podcast about how I'm gonna have a son.
That's so triple million bazillion congratulations.
Thanks,
That's
buddy.
awesome.
Steve and I were entrusted with Rick Ingram's child,
Oh yeah.
and it didn't die.
Oh my gosh, that was like a sitcom. I was so nervous.
I mean, we're talking like 5-month-old. Rick had to shoot a commercial, and he's like, "Guys, can you both come over? My wife would feel better if there were 2 of you."
Yeah.
there."
First Sophie
That's
was
funny.
there, the waitress, and then she showed
She did
me
the AM
stuff.
shift.
Yeah, she did the AM shift, and I was like, I can't do this by myself.
Yeah.
And then she's like kicked the door open like a 70s style detective. I got your back.
Dude, we were trying to put her down. Later in the crib, Tim, take notes. And we were like, we couldn't get her calmed down, and so we both like pretended like we were getting tired, and
Oh,
slowly
yeah.
kind of like calmed ourselves down, and like became real slow and almost, like we were sleeping just to trick her into sleeping.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
But,
My sister's got 6 kids and my brother has 4, so I've had a lot of nieces and nephews.
Oh, that's awesome.
And one thing I learned about babies, I was telling my wife, I was like, you have to learn how to do this. I was like, that will make a baby stop crying every fucking time, at least for like a minute or two, because they're just like, they get this, you just make this noise, you go, and the baby's like, what the fuck?
Baby whisperer.
I don't care how hard.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't care how hard they're crying. They will stop for at least a few seconds and be like, "What are you doing? How do you?" And then they go right back. To My biggest fear with a newborn is that a colicky baby. My mom took care of this colicky baby when I was a kid. I was like 15, and I had.
what is that?
Colic is when like they get air in their stomach, and
Mm.
it's like sometimes I think they've come a long way since then. But I was like 15, and she was taking care of this kid, and this kid just scream cried like 23 hours a day. I don't know how my mom took care of this kid as long as she did without losing her fucking mind. Because she left me with this kid for about a half an hour. She's like, I've got to run to your sister's. And we rarely had a phone when I was growing up because we were broke all the time.
Yeah.
She left me with this kid, and a half hour to my mom quickly turns into like an hour or two. And I got to the point with this kid, I think I was maybe 13, scream crying in my face, just, "Rah, rah," with a little tongue shaking shit. And I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. I finally put him in the bed, and I ran to my sister's because we lived in the same apartment complex. And I was like, you gotta come get this kid. And she's like, you left that baby alone? And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know what to do. It's killing me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my biggest fear. But that's a long way to go to say that we're talking about Goonies and all that, and I cannot wait until my little boy is like 5 and I can show him Rocky for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
That's such a good movie.
yeah, all of them are. And when I remember when I saw it when I was like 5 or 6 years old, like I remember seeing Rocky train all that time, and then he was getting his ass kicked by Apollo. And I remember in my 5-year-old brain, I was like, how is he losing? He trains so hard. How can he possibly be getting his ass kicked? But
What about Karate Kid? We gotta kind of get some.
Karate Kid is. I love Cobra Kai, by the way.
I heard it's awesome.
It's awesome.
It really is. It really
It's
is.
cheesy but awesome.
Brett Ernst does a great job in it.
He's
I love that
awesome.
dude.
He really does. He does a great job. And what was I going to say about Karate Kid? I loved that movie as much as anyone, but I remember always thinking, like, Daniel is such a pussy. You know, like, I don't care how much karate he knows. I would just punch him right in the chest.
Well, I remember when I was a kid watching that, I was like, is this like Rocky but with karate? Like, and I didn't know it was the same director. I didn't know it was the
is.
same
Okay.
guy.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's just a remix. It's the same song, and they just remixed it.
Yeah.
Mickey, Mr. Miyagi,
Right.
Adrian, the other broad.
Yeah. The other broad. Who is the other broad?
Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, yeah.
She had a hell of a career,
I had
huh?
a big crush on her when
I
we
saw
came
her
out.
not
Oh
too
my
long ago
God.
in the street, and I damn near rear-ended somebody. I was like, is that Elizabeth?
It's amazing the people that shake you, right? Like once Willie Ames drove by me and I lost my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's Willie
8
Ames?
is enough?
And Scott Baio's sidekick and
Okay.
Zapped and
Okay.
Charles in Charge.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Captain Bible now or something, isn't
I don't know.
He's some
Willie
religious
Ames?
guy. Yeah, he's like
We need a microphone for you, because the people
No,
that
Scott,
Yeah.
well, Scott Baio now lives in Olathe and has a mega church in Kansas.
What?
Scott
Scott
Baio?
Baio?
Oh, no. I'm thinking
That's Kirk Cameron.
Yes, Kirk
Kirk
Cameron. I'm
Cameron.
sorry. Same heartthrob, guys. Sorry.
Same hard
Same
rock,
here.
such a great
Same
word.
My brother looked a lot like Kurt Cameron when we were kids. All the girls would be
Did
like,
he just crush chicks?
He
Is that
wasn't-
your brother that's the wrestler?
Yeah, and he was really good looking, and my friend and I were the funny ones, and we would always be like, Jim, because he would try to be funny, and we were like, just sit there and look pretty and shut up. We'll be funny. You just look the way you do. But yeah, he had the Kurt Cameron hair, and all the girls would, and I had glasses and shit, and I was kind of a dork, and the girls would be like, where is your brother? And I'd be like, fuck you.
And that's how you make a comedian.
exactly the recipe for a comedian.
You have brothers too, right, Steve?
Yeah, I have an older brother and a younger brother.
Okay. And you're the middle child. Was that so you got the best of both worlds, or is that the hardest, being the middle child?
I don't know any other way.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I guess that's true.
Like, there was always somebody to hang out with,
Yeah.
you know? It was
Is
the
Mark your
greatest.
younger brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we shared a bedroom growing up. So, like, we were the little guys.
Yeah.
And my big brother ran our house like a corrupt union official. Like, he was the master manipulator.
Yeah.
He ran the show.
How much older was he?
3 years older than me, 4 years older than my younger
Oh,
brother.
that's perfect.
Perfect, yeah. Perfect age for evil manipulation.
Yeah, as far as being the manipulator.
Yeah, it's
Because
like the
you're-
difference between a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, that's a whole different species.
Yeah, you're old enough to like still hang out. You're the same, close enough in age that you can still hang out,
Yeah.
but you're old enough that you could tell them pretty much anything. And,
Oh, he would too.
And 3 or 4 years younger, you'll definitely you probably believe every fucking.
Yeah,
thing
I
he
remember
said.
when I was like 4, he told me that bubble yum had spider eggs in it. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, you better not chew that stuff. Because then the spiders get in your belly. And I'm like, whoa, I don't want that. And he was like, you better give it to me. And I did.
Yeah.
And then he just pops in a piece and he was like, If you're 7, it doesn't affect you. And I'm like, all right, good to know.
No.
3 more years.
With very clever of your brother.
Oh, he did that stuff all the time.
I had a little sister a stepsister that I convinced that she didn't know about money yet. So I'd be like, I'll give you 40 pennies for 4 quarters, and she'd be like, okay.
Deal. Yeah, my big brother did all. What else would he do? If there was something delicious, I remember this vividly, because he was a fat kid, so he was always like making snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And then my little brother was like, that smells good. I want some of that. And he was like, you want chicken duty soup? He was like, what? He was like, this is chicken duty soup. He was like, I don't like duty. And he was like, but that's what it is. No, what's that? Chicken. You spell duty Noodle? Yeah, that's how you spell duty. He did all that stuff. But he didn't just run game on me and my little, he did it to my mom.
Yeah.
Like I just did this as a bit, Mother's Day weekend, because I was just talking about moms and stuff like that. And I'm like, this might stay in the act. Because, like, he really did run our house. So, like, when your birthday was coming up, you wouldn't go to I wouldn't go to my parents and tell them what I wanted. I'd go to my big brother, and he'd be like, okay, give me your list, and I'll see what I can do. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, no, write in Van Halen tape. But I'd be like, I don't want a Van Halen tape. And he's like, that's my cut. So he would like ask, I would ask for stuff on my birthday for him.
Yeah.
And then like I remember him doing this to my mom. Like it was my little brother's birthday coming up.
Yeah.
So this is how he would manipulate my mom. He's like, okay, now did we get Marky everything on his list? And she'd be like, pretty much. Okay, what are we getting him? And she'd rattle off everything that she could afford to get him. Right? Yeah. And then no matter how much it was or how amazing it was, he would go, what else? And she'd be like, what do you mean what else? That's it. And he'd go, that's all you're getting now? She's like, yeah, Chris, that's all we had money for. And he'd go, all right. What do you mean, all right? Well, you only turned 7 once. Why make it magical?
Yeah.
And then he'd start singing, you did your best, but I guess your best wasn't good enough to put a smile on Marky's face. You're a rotten little boy. Like, he would break my grandmother's balls to her face. It was the best.
What does he do now?
He's some sort of scientist.
I was like, man, or rules the world, like in disguise, one of the two.
I like
was-
how
yeah.
he's your brother, and you're like, he's some sort of scientist.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to understand what he does.
I don't even know. I don't pretend I know.
Yeah, he tried to explain it once, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So
It's
there's
like-
computers involved, but
Yeah.
science too.
It's like, I got tired of manipulating brains. I'm gonna do just cells now and just work.
Yeah, he was like hysterical. He's the funniest person I've ever met.
Now, are you happy? I was gonna ask earlier, like with all that torment and everything that you grew up with, which everyone deals with.
Torment. It wasn't bad.
Like the inspiration, like with your comedy, because I mean, we go back,
Yeah.
whatever, a long time.
Years.
And I remember before the break happened, when you were still on Tuesday nights, back door, right upstairs in the main room. I mean, this may be like 05, 06.
Yeah.
It was a while ago, but I remember you sitting there and you're like, it's just, it takes time, and you had confidence in your ability, but watching all your friends on TV and everything was very difficult for you. And then it was like a couple years later, it was like snap, pop, and it was all that family stuff that really struck a chord with the audience. Like,
Yeah, it's interesting.
I guess, like, would you trade any of that?
No, man.
for-
Look, we're all blessed. Everybody in this room right now is blessed beyond belief to do what we do. I don't look at what anybody. I'm rooting for everybody, and that's not like some Hollywood fake talk. I'm legitimately rooting for everybody. I want everybody to make it. A while back, I realized that in order for me to find happiness in my life, I had to stop looking at what I didn't have, and I had to start celebrating what I do have.
Yeah.
And I started to realize, like, for a while, you do start to I did doubt myself. I started to think, like, maybe I'm just not talented. Maybe people are working harder than me. And I was like, dude, I'm working as hard as I can. I'm getting a good response from the audience. I'm trying to be as original as I can. And I realized some people just hit the lottery in this town. They really do.
Yeah.
They'll be 3 years in, and they get the right agent. They get a sitcom, and they're millionaires.
Yeah.
And that just happens.
Right.
But the people that really, really have great careers, there's no replacing hard work.
Yeah.
There's no replacing persistence and paying your dues. Like my favorite comics right now, have all been doing it at least 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like your Bill Burr, Sebastian, Joey Diaz. Those guys didn't take any shortcuts.
Yeah.
And I was about 10 years in when I started to realize I had to just start celebrating what I did have.
Yeah, there really is a lot of power in gratitude.
It's
Like,
everything.
I just did these gigs this last weekend, and without getting into all of it, I wasn't like on the way home. I don't know if I hadn't had enough sleep or whatever, but I felt kind of depressed or something.
Yeah.
I was on the plane, and it wasn't that I had bad shows or anything. I just felt depressed. So I pulled out my notebook and I just wrote down like 10 things that happened this week that were positive.
Dude, that's my new podcast.
Oh,
I
really?
want to get you. Yeah, we'll just do it. Maybe we'll wrap this up with a gratitude list and we'll have Mike email me the file, but that's it. Because
Okay.
I end my podcast every week with a gratitude list with the guy that produces it. And it rewires your brain, man.
It really does.
It's amazing.
By the end of it, I was like, I felt better. And, you know, for the longest time, I would hear people talk about gratitude lists and all that, and it sounded kind of hokey.
Yes.
But
I get angry when people would tell me stuff like that. I was so miserable. I'm like, oh, really? My health? And I want to just start strangling. Seriously.
until there's something wrong with your health.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And then you're like,
100% so.
So when people say your health is everything,
It is
and
everything.
you're healthy and you hear that and you're like, fuck off, I'm healthy as shit, I'm not happy.
Dude, one of my favorite lines in Godfather Part 2 is when Hyman Roth was my favorite gangster, one of my favorite movie characters of all time, the old gangster that ran Cuba and was like the guy Michael Corleone, like, and he was, I'd give $2 million to be able to take a piss.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We have everything.
yeah.
We get to live our dream. We live in Southern California. We have the coolest people ever we get to hang out with. We're in the world famous Comedy Store. Like if you told the 13-year-old Steve Simeone that was bringing whoopee cushions and itching powder in the 8th grade that one day I'd be hanging out at the Comedy Store, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I said this recently about the gatekeepers. Your friends are always been like, one of these days you're gonna make it. Like I haven't had a day job in 20 years. I have made it, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And then what we were just talking about before we went live, like we were talking about there was certain, it's not about money, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the craziest, that was the best thing about being really, really poor, is that I used to think like, well, if I had money, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
And then some of my friends started to make a lot of money, and I'm like, oh, they're more miserable now
Yeah.
than when they were as poor as me.
Yeah.
So it's like, start celebrating what you have.
The more you have, the
Make-
more you can lose.
That's true too. The more
People
you-
have said that.
Yeah.
They,
I
like,
firmly believe that. The more you have, the more you have the fear to lose.
yeah. So you got to overcome your fears, not let them just be in the moment.
Yeah.
Have some laughs. This is this is how simple I think life is. The only thing you really need is like something like a delicious sandwich
Yeah.
and somebody to share it with.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That's a pretty good way to look at it. And sometimes I'll think about things that, like if I'm in a bad mood or a funk, I'll think about times where like I went to jail for 50 days one time.
What? What did you
No.
do?
Whoa, I want to hear this.
This is fantastic.
Well, and sometimes
You got
I'll-
caught in the wrong county though. That was part of it.
Yeah, Johnson County. Never get in trouble in Johnson County.
Where's Johnson County?
It's in Overland Park, Kansas, and it's just one of those areas where they don't have a lot of crime. So when you do something, they really stick it to you because it's a huge business. Jail and all that shit.
Yeah.
There's a ton of money in that.
Oh,
People
yeah.
don't realize how much money they make off of it. Anyway, long story short, I told this on one of my first podcasts already, but I broke a Denny's window. I was wasted one night and I broke a Denny's window with my fist like an idiot. And thank God it didn't
Oh,
hurt
you
myself.
cut any tendons? Yeah.
Yeah, but I broke a Denny's window and then I flunked a drug test for smoking pot. Like, I had 2 weeks left of my probation and about 4 weeks
Wait, what were you on probation originally for?
for breaking the window.
Okay.
Yeah, and for some reason it was in Johnson County, so they were making me take drug tests. And so anyway, I had 2 weeks left of my probation, and the probation officer I had was kind of a closet comedy fan. Like he was real serious about his job, but he would ask me about comedy, and he let it slip that he liked like the Chappelle Show and that kind of shit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he quit making me take drug tests up until he quit making. You know, I took like 2 or 3 and I passed them, and then I started gradually smoking weed again. And I figured out a way. Like there's this stuff you can get from GNC to mask your pee and drink it if you have to. I did that a couple times and it worked.
Really?
And then he just quit testing me altogether. And I had 2 weeks left, and I walked in for my last probation meeting where they were basically just going to discharge me.
Oh no.
And it was a different probation officer. He had moved on,
No.
and it was some lady that it was like her first.
Scagnetti.
It was her.
Nurse
It was-
Ratchet.
Reservoir Dogs reference.
Yeah, it was her first like week on the job, so she like had something approved or whatever, and she was like, "I'm gonna drug test you," and in my head I was like, "Oh," you know, outward I'm like, "Hey, okay, no problem," and in my head I'm like, "Oh shit." And I went and got that stuff from GNC, and it didn't work, and I flunked a drug test, and I had the worst judge in all of Overland Park. And long story short, he put me in jail, and if I wouldn't have had a lawyer, I would have gone to jail for a year.
What?
A full year. And the lawyer was like, my lawyer was that I had to pay a ton of money to, got me a deal where he was like, well, you can go back on probation for a year, but he's not going to let you do comedy at all. He's not going to let you do comedy because he's not going to let you be anywhere where they serve alcohol.
Oh my god.
Or you can do 50 days in jail, because I already done 10 when it first happened, because that'll be 60 days and then it'll be done.
Oh.
No probation, no nothing. And I was like, well, I'll do that. I would much rather. But I had a kick-ass summer. I was supposed to be at like all these improvs and funny bones. I had to cancel all of them, which sucked. But I got it all over with. And speaking of trying to have a positive attitude, I just kept thinking like, okay, I'm doing 50 days in jail, but I don't have to pay for any of these meals. So that's like,
Look at the bright side.
I'm like, that's $20 a day at least on food I'm not spending. I'm like, I'm making $1,000 by being in here for 50 days.
Not paying rent.
Yeah.
Food is free.
And
Get
I-
to work out.
and I-
Making buddies.
Working on self-defense.
Yeah, but you can't you can't work out in there. Like if they caught you like doing push-ups or squats or just free weight squats or anything, they would make you stop, which kind of sucked.
Wow.
Why?
But I don't know. I like to read, and they shift you around to like I think I went to like 4 different jails, and I like to read. So being in jail is not, and it's boring, but it's not that big a deal. Really.
When you know you're coming out in 50 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when I was in there with guys.
And
that
you're
were
a
like,
badass.
I was
I know, 4 years removed from state championship
Yeah,
wrestling.
exactly.
Yeah.
There were guys in there that were doing like 2 years, and I did almost get into a fight one night because I'm a pretty nice guy, but if you wake me up, I'm an asshole. And they were really being loud, and I was like, I got pretty upset about it. I was like, shut the fuck up, just shut up. And this big dude came down, and he was like, you wanna make me shut up? And I was like, I will if I have to, motherfucker. And it got pretty ugly, but then we did the whole jail, shake hands, and make up thing. But that was about the closest I got to getting into a fight. But yeah. So
I'm
anyway.
intimidated.
50 days a hard time. I mean,
Yeah, we talked about this last time. He's the last person I want to fight. Short,
Oh yeah.
stocky,
As soon as
strong.
you're a wrestler, you're like,
I
oh
was like,
god.
get the fuck. I'm
Better pack a lunch. That's like seriously the skill that all your MMA fighters now. That's their base.
Yeah.
It's like you get your kids involved in wrestling, and then you add jujitsu and striking.
I wonder if there's going to be a huge boom in wrestling participation.
There already is.
Have you noticed anything? I mean,
yeah,
or heard of anything like that?
It's going through the roof a little bit,
Uh-huh.
you know, as far as because people do realize that a lot of MMA
it's the
comes
base.
from that. Ben Askren is, I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he was undefeated in Dana White would never let him in
Mm.
to like whatever Dana White runs. He would never let Ben Askren in, but Askren was this amazing folk style wrestler and made the Olympic team and all that and freestyle. But anyway, he said one of his podcasts recently, he was like, that's the best self-defense there is folk style wrestling and learning how to
Now,
beat
what's the
people up.
difference between folk style and freestyle?
Just the rule set and the way you score points. And
Do they do?
folk style is more about control, and freestyle's just exposure. Like in folk style, you have to hold someone on their back for like a matter of a few seconds, a few swipes they call it,
Okay.
to get your points. And in freestyle, you just roll them through, and so you can score a lot quicker. You can get tech falled, and which means you can stop
Gotcha.
the match in like 30 seconds.
Why wouldn't Dana White let him in?
I don't know the history of them, but Ben Askren was awesome. I
Yeah.
mean,
Who's the American heavyweight, the young kid that beat that unbelievable Russian legend?
Rulon Gardner.
Is that the guy?
Yeah, he wrestled a guy named Alexander Karelin who hadn't lost in 13 years.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah. I'll be
How come more people don't know about this kid?
I'll be completely honest with you. I was kind of bummed out when Rulon beat him, just because the Russian was like,
A legend.
yeah, he hadn't lost in 13 years.
That's
and,
incredible.
And he was going for his 4th Olympic gold medal in a row. And
My God.
and then Greco-Roman has these really fucked up rules, and Rulon Gardner beat him. And he's an American, so I should have been happy about it. But the history and lover in me was like, fuck, I can't believe Rulon. I can't believe of all the people.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah.
That was what, 2004 Olympics or 2008? Because then he went on, because everyone knows Rulon Gardner from not dying in a snowmobile and
Yeah.
losing his toe and walking back like 30 miles through the mountains.
Yeah, and Rulon was obviously legit. I mean, he won the Olympics and he came back the next 4 years later and got a bronze, so he wasn't like some chump. But I was kind of bummed out when I guess that's anti-American of me, but fuck.
Commie.
Your love for wrestling supersedes your love for your country.
Yeah.
That's, I mean,
Yeah,
I
guess it kind of did in that situation.
wrestling's a big part of this comedy club. You know, I mean, a lot of comedians are huge wrestling fans. I mean, they got the
Store
Yeah, the store horseman. Thank
That's
you.
a stab.
But we were all blessed, you know, for many years, like when Roddy came up
Oh,
here.
Yeah,
And, like,
Roddy Piper.
And that's,
Nicest guy ever.
and I kind of wanted to bring it up in a tidbit too, just because you and like Lucas Hurl, you know, were like
Yeah.
really, really close with Roddy. I mean, he's a great guy, you know.
Yeah, Roddy
conversations.
came here. This is how it happened. I remember everything because it was the best Christmas I ever had as an adult. I got to spend Christmas with the troops in Christmas of 2008, so it'll be 10 years ago. It was, honestly, you know when you're a little kid, Christmas is magical?
Right.
Like you can feel it, it's different, it's,
Yeah.
you know it's Christmas. And then you get older and you sort of lose that feeling, no matter how much. I guess maybe when you have kids, you get the magic back.
Yeah.
So, I had a couple awful Christmas, you know, you're poor, you can't go home. And then I had enough money saved up, I was like, I'm not gonna do Christmas at Burger King again. You know what I mean? Like, that's as depressing as it gets.
Yeah.
But then the offer came through and was like, would you be willing to do it, to work for the troops? And I was like, yep, absolutely. And it was awesome. We did Christmas, I remember Christmas Day was on the USS Nimitz, and we did like 4 shows. And it was lights out murder. It was, because it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Dude, we did a show like on this oil rig 2 days before Christmas in the middle of nowhere with like 30 badass Marines. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So I get back, we're on our way home, and I'm at the airport in Dubai. And I'm finally checking my email because I didn't have Wi-Fi for a couple days. Most of the bases have it, but we were traveling so much I didn't have it. So I'm in the airport, and I'm going, I'm like, let's see, Rowdy Comedy, what's that? And it was an email from Eric Abrams that used to book the Improv, who's the best. And he was like, do you have any interest in doing a comedy show with Roddy Piper? I was like, yes. I was like, thank you, Santa. I'm like, this is what I get for giving, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this was, so I remember like being so nervous and excited because that was January of 2009. And I think it was April of 2005 when WrestleMania was in LA.
Okay.
I couldn't afford a ticket to go, but the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, everybody from my childhood was getting inducted.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, Nikolai Volkov, Paul Orndorff, the Iron Sheik, Hulk Hogan, and Rowdy Piper. And so then they said Sylvester Stallone was going to give the induction speech
Holy
for Hulk
shit.
Hogan.
That is a
So-
kid's dream.
Oh, dude, at the time, the only good thing in my life, like gig-wise, is that Court McCown used to pay me to hand out flyers for the Playboy Comedy Tour in Vegas. He'd pay for my ticket out there. I get a couple $100 for just handing out flyers for 3 days, buffet passes,
Oh.
and I got to do the cold open on the show, 5 cold minutes,
Nice.
buffet passes, hotel at the Cool Kid Hotel, the
The
Palms.
Palms. That was when it was hot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That was Palms 08, 09, not Palms.
No, that was Palms
Or-
04, 05.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That
That's-
was the coolest place
yeah,
in
to
Vegas.
be. Yeah.
And I was like, Court can't make the show this month. And he was like, what's going on, buddy? And I'm like, Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And he laughed. He's like, no, what's really going on? I'm like, no, seriously, I can't miss this. And I had no money. And me and Brett Ernst got tickets. And we were our seats were we could touch the ceiling. And I had my last $25, I bought a Hot Rod Rowdy Piper t-shirt.
Nice.
It was all the t-shirts from my childhood, and I realized that Piper was the reason why I loved it, because I wanted him to lose.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you realize how funny he was. So, legendary speech, Ric Flair introduces Piper.
Yeah.
they killed it. And I'm like, this is the best night ever. 3 years later, I get an email where I get to perform with Roddy Piper.
Wow.
Now, I had a bunch of material about pro wrestling because I'm a moron. And everybody else just did their normal act.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it was like nervous. There's Piper. It was like meeting somebody from the Marvel universe. I'm like, this is a superhero. Because
Yeah.
pro wrestling, to me, when I was a kid, was like comic books for kids that didn't like to read.
Yeah.
Was good versus evil.
Yeah.
Larger than life personalities. And there he was. And I remember my buddy that owns a gym back home was like, be very respectful. He goes, those old school guys, he goes, they can shoot. I'm like, what? And he goes, you don't know. He goes, he might be a little touched. Don't say anything. He might just split your head open. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I do my set, and it's all about pro wrestling, and I crushed it.
Nice.
And Piper was hosting, right? And he comes up on stage, and he's just smiling, come here. And he hugged me, and I'm like, what the? Roddy Piper's hugging me? And then he started to pet my head like a dog. That was one of the things he used to do. Oh, isn't he cute? And I'm like, what the hell? This is, I know. So then 2 days later, his manager calls.
Yeah.
She goes, Roddy was really impressed with your set. This is something he really wants to do. He likes your style of comedy. He has a lot of stories. Look, is there any way he could come see you at the Comedy Store? And just, I don't know. Yeah. So I had a main room spot.
Nice.
But I didn't get up till like 3 hours into the show, right? So Piper comes in with his entourage. I remember thinking it was his girlfriend and it was his daughter because he's a total family, but I didn't know that at the time, right? And I'm just like, okay, don't make eye contact. How are you, Mr. Piper? Okay, sir. Like, whatever. And they're in a booth, and I'm like going over my set in my head. But you know how they main room, like any OR in the main room at this place, if you go up at the game plan, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, so now
Sure.
it's 2.5, 3 hours into the show. I had all these bits I wanted to do. Now there's 20 people left in the room. There's no energy. And I remember I started to tell a story about my niece, and we're having a tea party. And I'm like, this 4-year-old girl, I'm drinking invisible tea. Like, She was like, but Uncle Stevie, it's hot. I'm like, it's burning. He's like, ah, right? I'm on stage telling that bit. The audience, he's gonna think you're a dork.
Yeah.
And then he came up to me and hugged me again. He goes, I have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
It was so then his manager calls me. She was like, look, would you be willing to help out Roddy? I'm like, absolutely. So then I met him during the day. Him and his buddy Mitch, who's the coolest guy ever. His buddy Mitch was like a big time producer and was also like a creative consultant to the WWF and WCW. Has the coolest collectible I've ever seen because he's a big sports guy,
Yeah.
a big comic book guy, and a big wrestling guy. So he's got this beautiful home in the top of the hills, like rich guy house, with all kinds of cool stuff like autographs and comics and baseball cards.
Yeah.
But he has the best collectible ever. He has a handwritten note from Big John Studd explaining what it is. And it's a locket of Andre the Giant's hair that Big John Studd cut off in that match back in the day. So anyway, I get to be buddies with Mitch. I get to be buddies with Roddy. And then we started to hang out here during the day. And he would just get on the OR stage and start telling me stories. And I'd write everything down, record everything, and then help him cobble together a set.
Nice.
It was the coolest thing ever.
Brilliant too, because you get him comfortable with the stage, no
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
Because it's a different thing. Like I know musicians, and we all do in entertainment that are toured, play in front of massive crowds, thousands of people, and then they'll come back and call us and be like, "How do you do it? How do you just
Yeah.
get up there in front of 150 people?" I'm like, "Dude, you just played 10,000." You're like, "Yeah, but I can hide behind the guitar or whatever." So even though if you were selling out the Metrodome or
Yeah,
whatever,
80,000 people
yeah, in
he's
Detroit,
wrestled in front of.
it's a whole different thing to go up in an intimate room and like, hey, this is who I am.
So then what I started to do is to get him comfortable, I would go up and start to do a set, right? This is how we worked him in. And I did like 5 minutes of material. I try to make wrestling references and stuff. Anyway, I do have a friend that's in the audience tonight. And maybe he'd come up here and say hello, Roddy Piper. And then place would go crazy.
Yeah.
Then he'd come up on stage with me, and I'd be like, Roddy, could you just tell him that one story? And that's how I sort of eased him into it.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when that started happening. I'd be in the audience and be like, "Fucking, that's Roddy Piper."
Craziest thing ever.
Yeah, I used to do a bit about, and occasionally I pull it out about how I was going to be a wrestling coach, and there's not much you can do with wrestling unless I can't be a pro wrestler. I'm not big enough unless I was like the giant midget. and he loved that bit. He thought that was so funny, and it was really cool for him to, he was just a very genuine, very genuine person.
Greatest person.
In general. Are we on Facebook Live right now?
No, you got to refigure your laptop.
Okay.
Is that what you started doing?
Yeah.
We're
We're on YouTube right here. This is live right here, and then the Twitch. A couple people are chiming in. Hello from behind, whoever that guy is, and et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
But no, it was great when Roddy would come up here. Like around that time, I just happened to have a little personal camera, and I would bring it to work with me. And one night I documented. I ended up editing it. It's on YouTube right now, but it's Earl. It's when he brought Sergeant Slaughter in. Or when Piper and Slaughter came in, and then Earl did his Ric Flair, and
he lip synced the lick.
And this is before people didn't know who Ric Flair was until about 10 years ago, and then it just like boomed, and now everyone's like, woo! You could in 2008 you could go woo, and no one would know what that was. Yeah, no one would know what that was.
We knew,
and so
the real fans knew.
So Skakel does the whole Ric Flair, and like word for word, and he's lip syncing it. It's great, and then afterwards, Sergeant Slaughter and Roddy were both like, this is incredible to like be entertained. Like, this is great. This is better than fucking midgets, was what Slaughter said. It's on the video. It's but that was magic, man. I didn't realize like you were the bridge that brought him in here.
Yeah,
and
that's why.
Thank you for that.
They put our names next to each other on the wall.
Oh man.
Oh, that's cool.
That's special.
Yeah.
See, this club does have a little bit of heart.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of it in there.
And when he passed away, that was very unexpected, right? Because
it was terrible.
He had a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
And, picture of health, if you look at him, I mean, the guy was still ripped and he was 60.
You want to hear how tough he was?
Yeah.
He had a match, I believe, with Terry Funk, like an indie match.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, he was just like, yeah, my neck's stiff. Something must have happened. And he'd leave here driving home. I'm a little stiff. How are you, pal? I'm a little stiff. 6 months later, he goes to the doctor, and they're like, you have a broken neck.
Jesus.
He was walking around with a broken neck for 6 months.
and probably wrestling and doing everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that he was a black belt under Judo Gene LaBelle, who arguably at one point was the toughest guy in the world.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool as shit. You've known you were best friends with Andrew Dice Clay. You were best
Yeah.
friends with Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
You knew
1 month, I was best friends with Tracy Morgan.
Yes.
For a month.
Oh,
those years?
dude, remember Slick Rick?
for a month.
Yeah, went to Slick Rick.
2004. I mean,
Yeah.
I dropped this real quick. We're at the House of Blues, rest in peace, and we're seeing Slick Rick, and we got Ingram and I, and Simone's there, and then all of a sudden, hey, young world, this is a great concert, and then he goes, I want to give a shout out to my man Tracy Morgan upstairs, and Steve goes, Tracy's here. We go upstairs, and he's in the VIP cliff or whatever the hell that little box is.
Yeah.
And Steve goes, Tracy, it's Steve. And he turned, oh shit, my man, Steve Simone. And Steve's like immediately, this is my buddy John and Rick. They're comedians. Oh, you think you guys are funny? Yeah. All right then, come on in. Just invited us in, and Steve's like, "You want to smoke pot with them?" I'm like, "Yeah." Hey, Tracy, these guys got some. Yeah, let's smoke it. We go outside. He's like, "You guys ever smoke weed on the Sunset Strip before?" And Ingram and I immediately like, "Yeah, all the time actually, right over there at the Comedy Store. I've been on this side." And we're like, "Never." That's right. Just the nicest guy.
Some friends.
I faked smoking pot with him once, and Eric Marino was the only one that noticed.
Really? That's
Yeah,
funny.
because I was such a nerd. I was
Because
afraid
you
to.
don't smoke weed, right?
No,
No.
but I'm afraid of it.
A friend of
Too
mine.
much 80s propaganda.
I want to drop a quick Tracy Morgan story. A friend of mine, she used to work in New York City, and this is when Tracy was on Saturday Night Live, and they hired him for like a corporate party. They're giving him like $10,000.
My God.
He came in during the day, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's on Saturday Night Live. It's gonna be great." He was doing all this like ass fucking material, just all
Yep,
this
that's
shit.
his go-to.
And she said the whole like all the corporate bigwigs are just like,
Jaws dropped.
oh man, it was.
Nicest guy ever. And the crazy thing is, whenever I'll see him every couple years, and he'll pick up the conversation right where we left off.
Really?
Right, like once I was at a Starbucks on Melrose. I hadn't seen him in like 3 or 4 years. And he was like, my man E, because he said I look like E from Entourage.
Yeah.
And then boom, we get into it. TMZ shows up, and he was like, it's just very put. He's like, I haven't seen my friend in a while. Could you please just turn off the camera?
Yeah.
And then the last time I saw him, I felt so cool. Because I never think he's going to remember me.
Yeah.
And like, it was here at the Comedy Store, and he's in that OR back hallway, and literally everybody's gathered around him.
Right.
Like, because he's not here that often, so it's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So he's holding court, everybody's dying laughing, and I just see him, and I don't think he sees me yet, but he must out of the corner of his eye, because he's talking to everybody, and then he just goes, reunited, and it feels so good. And he was like, sing it, E, and everybody was like, Steve Simeone knows Tracy Morgan, oh, he's an OG.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's-
sweet guy. Another really sweet
It
guy.
is an OG. That was like 03, 04, right? When you guys, I
It
guess
was when he was filming The Longest Yard.
we stepped on the story of how you guys hung out too. Like you guys were just, from what I remember, you would just chill and play video games, right? While he was in LA. That's how you guys became friends, or you?
No, it was just here. He was hanging out one time,
okay,
and we
okay.
just started talking,
Nice.
and that was it. And that was back when I was still drinking, so.
So you've been best friends with some super cool people, and you were here in. A lot of people don't know that you were a manager here.
Yeah,
So you knew Mitzi pretty well.
yeah, sure did.
Yeah.
And it's,
What's your favorite Mitzi story? Do you have one?
favorite.
I meant to send you a text last night and be like, "Hey, come with a favorite Mitzi story." Just so
man,
you,
there's
'cause
so
I'm sure you
many.
have a ton of them.
I'll tell you one that kind of blew me away.
Okay.
So Paulie finds me at a stand-up comedy contest. I had already quit my job. I'd been out here on a vacation, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. I had a very limited experience as a comedian. I've probably done about 10 open mics.
So you started in Philadelphia.
Started in Baltimore.
Okay.
Did a couple open mics there. This is like the late 90s. Comedy was dead.
Right.
So then I tried to do whatever I could other than comedy.
Mhm.
And then I was just at a point where I was so miserable. I'm like, I have to give this a shot. I have to try. So I came out here kind of like on a scouting mission.
Yeah.
And my buddy was like, let's move out here. I'm like, yes. He was like, all right, let's quit our jobs and move out here. So I did that, and he didn't.
You just
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God. So I don't have a job. I'm living at home with my parents, and I'm like, it's over. I'm never going to see California again.
Yeah.
Everything sucks. Why try to do anything at all? Everything's whatever. And then there was a comedy contest. And I remember thinking if I made it to the finals, I could do a show with Pauly Shore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a story to tell your kids.
Right.
Like, I'm like, you know, maybe I sell insurance or whatever. But there was one night in my life where I was on stage in front of 1,000 people with a movie star.
Yeah.
I was like, that'd be a pretty cool story. I just hope I make it to the finals.
Yeah.
So I make it to the finals. I win the contest. Paulie was super cool. Dean Galberg, who was the general manager of this place, and at the time, just Paulie's road manager, was like, here's my cell. Call me if you ever make it to LA. I'm like, oh, I will. I'm planning on doing it. And then I still was afraid and didn't have any money and didn't have any contact. They were my only contact.
Yeah.
But then a kid I knew from high school moved out here. So I'm like, maybe I got, so then I just got miserable enough where I just got in my car one day and drove.
Yeah.
And I get to LA, I have no money.
From Philly.
From Philly. And my car was so stinky that I knew it wasn't good enough to drive back.
Yeah.
So now I'm done. I remember my dad did give me good advice like the night before I left. It was like the only time like it was like a movie. And my dad's looking at me and he goes, you've heard the expression don't burn your bridges, right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you know what that means? And I told him what I thought it meant. He goes, yeah, kinda. He goes, but you know where that came from? No. He goes, the Romans were for a long, long time were the most feared army in the world.
Mhm.
He goes, but there were times where they would get themselves into situations where they're outnumbered, they're outgunned. So what they would do is when they would go into battle, they would burn the bridges behind them so they knew they couldn't retreat.
Mhm.
And he goes, it was either you win or you die.
Yeah.
And he was like, let me tell you something, son. There's never a right time in life for anything. He goes, you can think you can plan it, but he goes, that's not how life works.
Right.
He goes, it's never the right time to get married. And he started to give examples, and he was like, you never have enough money, you never have enough security, he's like, it's never the right time to have a kid, it's never the right time to start a new job, he goes, it's never right. It's either you do it or you don't. And the next day I drove out here with nothing.
Wow.
And I was so poor, miraculously, I got a job in a pizza place my second day here, third day here.
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh, I don't have to spend any money on food.
Yeah.
And then I called Dean. He did remember me. I'd been out here like a week, and I'm like, I have no money. How does this work? He explained how you get on the open mic at the Comedy Store, and he was like, what we need to do is get you in as a door guy, but he goes, that'll take some time. He goes, just start doing open mics, be nice to people, don't be a douchebag, and just do that. So I tried to do that, and it was a pain in the ass. Then Paulie was shooting a movie, so he got me a job as a PA, was making $50 a day. And I do remember this. There was one day I got on set at 6 a.m. It was 2:30 in the morning. You know how nobody works in LA. You know what I mean? Like everything.
Yeah.
And I remember just being so pissed by that point. I was doing everything, taking out the trash, craft services. We had to move stuff. And I remember I was so mad that I had taken a couch and I was moving it by myself down a flight of steps. I'm like, who's this asshole in my way? And it was Paulie. Because Paulie kind of remembered me, but that, you know what I mean? Like, and he was like more impressed that I was working that hard. So I got home, it was 3:30 in the morning. Paulie Shore called me.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and he goes, hey, dude, I noticed how hard you were working. He goes, I'm going to get you a job at the Comedy Store. And I had been in town for like 3 or 4 months. Got a job answering phones here. Freddie Lockhart trained me on the phones.
Oh,
And then
Great.
3 months after that, they had 2 managers at the time, and one of them the night before went through all the whipped cream because he was doing whippets, so they had to fire him. And they were like, "How about that guy that?" Because I had the phone shift nobody wanted,
Yeah.
like 9 a.m. to like 1 p.m. So I'd wake up, do the phones here, then go deliver pizzas in Santa Monica.
Nice.
And they were like, "You want to manage the club?" So then I had to sit down with Mitzi, and everything about it. I remember every detail. It was surreal. But then we come to the club, and we had this amazing conversation in her booth. The name of the show was Arabian Nights.
Yeah.
It was Sam Tripoli, Aaron Gaither, Maz Jobrani, Ahmed, and I remember this is 2001.
Okay.
This was March of 2001. So it's post Swingers. Vince Vaughn gets on stage, but pre old school Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
So he was a star, but he wasn't the biggest star in Hollywood yet.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm like, this is super cool. And Mitzi started, and how proud she was to be Jewish, but she knew that she had to develop Arab comics because she goes, it's going to get bad. So there's going to be a war.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? She goes, it's going to be really, really bad. But I know that if I can develop these comedians, they can go to these countries and bring some healing.
Yeah.
And 6 months after that, Maz, Ahmed, and Aaron were on the cover of the Wall Street Journal.
Wow. Huh. It's cool as shit.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
She had tons of stories. She had stories about everybody, dude.
Yeah, I bet.
Everybody.
It's a great story about your dad too.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think, my dad never told me anything.
Dude, that was the
I was
dude.
thinking the same thing.
In
I'm
all
like-
honesty, that's the one time the stars aligned. Like my dad used to just be like, "Don't bother me."
And there's a lot of the people listening. Take that home. Say that to your kids someday. That was
Because
really
normally it was just like, just don't bother dad. He would just lay in bed and be miserable,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
sit out in the driveway, not want to come in the house.
Yeah.
It's like, why sprinkle little bits of knowledge throughout the entire?
Yeah, he dropped it
Just
all
drop
one
one,
night.
just Nagasaki that thing, and then
Yep.
send the kid out to L.A.
Yep.
So your parents are still married?
Yeah, 49 years.
Cool.
Wow,
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
that's awesome.
Crap.
Yeah.
I could tell, like, your family unit is strong. I mean, it comes
Yeah,
across.
please, we're all crazy people.
Yeah.
Like, what I find frustrating about my approach to comedy, and this is just me venting a little bit, where everybody's like, "Oh, oh yeah, it's such a great family, and everything's so perfect," and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." Just because I'm choosing to see the positive and put a positive spin on things, nobody's life is perfect.
Yeah,
Everybody's crazy people. Everybody has their family's been through stuff you don't want anybody to find out, and you're embarrassed of, but that's life. It's like, look at it from how you look at it, the choice you make of life. It's all the decision to see the best.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. I mean, and the proof is on what you do on stage. You know, when you talk about your family, you know, it's like you spin that, and then in such a way too, where the audience is like, "Holy shit! Did this guy have a camera in my living room in 1989?" Like that's like the shit you talk about. You can just see it in the audience faces. You take them to this place where they haven't been in decades.
Yeah, it's cool.
You know, and it really is, and it kind of brings up maybe a little bit of that Christmas morning magic you were talking about. Because you start thinking about like, oh man, that was great, the good times, and
Celebrate. That's what it is. It's the choice to go. Are we gonna? It's the gratitude list.
Yeah.
Like I really try to use my comedy as a form of it's a verbal gratitude list. And there was a long time where it was a verbal suicide note. You know what I mean? Where I would just be like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks.
Yeah.
But it wasn't making me feel better, and it wasn't making the audiences feel better.
Yeah, it's your act is very original and it's very unhackable. You know, like people can't steal your shit. They can't. You know,
Yeah,
I guess they
you're
could,
right.
but
Yeah,
they would do a terrible job.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be awful. Like I've had people be like, "I'm gonna take your joke." I'm like, you're gonna fuck it up.
Yeah. The best was in China. I had a buddy of mine owns a comedy club in Shanghai that I've done, and there was a comedian from South America on stage doing one of my bits.
Whoa.
And I was like, dude, what a compliment.
No kidding.
I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And he was like, he didn't do it well.
Yeah. Who do you? Is there a specific comedian that you look up to comedically, or that you were
Oh, no.
influenced by?
Look, let me tell you the truth. Anybody that's survived this business
Yeah.
has my utmost respect.
Yeah.
Anybody that has the courage to even just get out on stage and do an open mic, because I know how much it means.
Mhm.
That's the one thing I just wish people were cooler to everybody else that's trying to come through the ranks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you remember you know how much this meant to us
Yeah.
when we first got started? Because we all get started because we love it. You know? And there were so many comedians I loved coming up. Everybody. Really everybody. But a great lesson for me was as I started to figure out what my voice was or whatever, I was like, what if, and this is funny, because I loved like Dice, I loved Kinnison, I loved everybody, from Brian Regan and Bob Nelson to Andrew Dice Clay and Sam Kinnison and everybody in between. Eddie Murphy, huge, Pryor, huge. But as I started to tell my stories and started to go, okay, this is what I'll do, I was like, what if I took like Robin Williams' approach to being in the moment and performing and high energy with Bill Cosby's wholesome family stories?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's an interesting mix.
Yeah.
And then I remember Robin unfortunately killed himself when we found out who Bill Cosby was. And that was like really the last straw for me where I'm like, okay, I don't care if I ever become famous. I just want to make enough money to see my family. God willing, one day I'll find a girl that's doesn't drive me crazy, and just have enough money for Friday pizza night, and we're good, man.
I'm sure
That's
you'll
it.
find a girl, but never one that doesn't drive you crazy.
That's what everybody says, where I'm like, she's just never happy. And all my friends are like, yeah, never.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky when it comes to that. My wife is pretty great. I'm really looking forward to having a kid.
You knew pretty fast too, right?
Um,
When did you know that this was different?
I don't even know how to answer that because we never fight, and a lot of the girls that I was with. See, I grew up in a very chaotic, dramatic. Everything was, and my dad was no, my stepmom didn't treat us very well, and I remember asking him one time, like, why do you let her treat us this way?
Yeah.
And he goes, because a good pussy overrules all.
Very honest advice. I gotta be honest.
He was honest.
He had
There's so much truth to that.
an honest, yeah, it was honest, but I was also 11, and I was, and I remember thinking like, wow, I'm 11, and I know that's really fucked up for you to say. But I say that to say that my dad always taught me kind of the wrong shit. So from the longest time, I was attracted to women for the wrong reasons, and I finally realized, like with Casey, like if I'm ever gonna have a family, this is the girl you need to do it with. It's not about always like sex or all the wrong shit that I was taught. It was about like you have to be with somebody that you can get along with good in the day to day, and
That's all there is.
yeah, and
Because that's your life. That's every day is your life with this person.
I need to find somebody I can do nothing with.
and that you can raise a family with and be on the same page with. Like we're very much on the same page when it comes to like how we feel about a lot of things, whether it's God or
Awesome.
like she's the kind of woman that if I know that when Micah is going to be my son's name, yeah, it's a good name.
That's a great name.
Yeah, when Micah is, if he asks my mom or my wife something, his mother, when she's like, if I say no, she's the type of woman that's gonna be like, your daddy said no, and that's all there's gonna be to it, you know. And you know, she might come to me in private and be like, you know, I think that maybe you should let him do that, or maybe maybe we should let him do that, but she'll never cut my balls off in front of him. Yeah. And that's very important to me. I think that's when I realized, like, you know,
that seems common sense to me.
There was never a
common sense isn't so common.
Yeah, and especially when you're not, you know, given the right blueprints when you're a kid.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, I had to figure out a lot of shit on my own.
I had to figure out everything on my own.
Which is a big reason I had to quit drinking and smoking weed and all that stuff, because my emotions were just all over the place, and I had to realize, like,
the false solutions.
Yeah, that's your subconscious fucking with you. It's not real.
Yep.
And it took me a long time to get to the point where I loved myself enough that I could be with a woman that was, and I've had some great girlfriends, you know, in certain ways, but she was the first girl that I was ever like, I could have a family with this girl.
Yeah.
Not just good times. And
yeah.
You know, I had some girls that were great on vacations.
Yeah.
When it came to real life, I was like, I couldn't do it.
And that's the good stuff, man. That really, it's the little moments. Yeah. You know, it's like somebody you can go grocery shopping with, where you're like, oh my God, this is awesome.
And speaking of the good times, before we wrap up, I wanted to plug your amazing show that you do, Good Times, that you can find on Stitcher, iTunes.
All that stuff.
All that stuff. We're at Steve Simeone, and that's it's Simeone, I think, right? It's Simeone.
Someone with an I.
Steve Simeone. That's at Steve Simeone. You can find him everywhere.
Actually, and I just want to say, Father's Day weekend, I'm going to be at the La Jolla Comedy Store, and then the week after that, I'm going to open up for Ari at Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco.
Oh,
so that's going to be fun.
That's going to be fantastic. And a really good Comedy Central This Is Not Happening episode with Steve Simeone also, that you can find online and everywhere.
Yeah.
Dude, this was great. Thank you.
Thank you. I could talk to you all day, and I'm glad we were able to do it again, because we have another podcast we did a few months back. It was
over the phone.
It was kind of rushed, and it was on the phone, and you're on your way to somewhere, and then I got like an opportunity to do a gig at the Comedy Magic Club, and so it was really rushed, and it was a good podcast, but we didn't get to talk about near as much stuff as we did today.
Yeah, this was the best.
Yeah, we could go on forever, but we're gonna wrap it up so we're not in traffic for 2 fucking hours.
No shit.
Anyway, as always, go to TimGaitherComedy.com. I'll be at Hyenas in Fort Worth, Texas this week.
Amazing club.
Really good club. And then I'll be in Austin on Sunday on my birthday, May 27th, at a place called, God damn it, I keep forgetting the name.
God, I just said it too. It's on your website, TimGaitherComedy.com.
Everything's on TimGaitherComedy.com. Please like and subscribe my YouTube and my fan page and all that stuff. As always, go to MakinItHappen.com, MACAN ithappen.com, and help out little Bo Macon. Any little donation helps that family, and he's a special kid. But TimGaitherComedy.com. You can find everything you need. And John, you got anything, buddy? I'm
going to be at the Edgewater Casino on June 29th and 30th in Lake Havasu, Pine Top Casino or Hyundai Casino in Pine Top, Arizona on the July 1st, and then September 6th, Angel of the Winds Casino in Washington, and August 31st and September 1st at the Reno Comedy Underground in Reno, Nevada.
So when you do Laughlin, you get to take that drive that Sam Kinison died on, which is it's this really
positive thoughts.
It's this really hilly drive from Sparks, Nevada, I believe, to Laughlin, and it's just all these huge hills. And it's kind of creepy, because you're like, I wonder if this is the hill that, you know.
I'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
It's literally like, which one was it?
Yeah, you can see how it happened, is what I'm saying. So anyway, that ought to hold you little bastards until next time. Thanks for coming. Todd Larson, thanks for coming in, buddy. You got anything you want to plug?
I got nothing on the books right now.
Okay. Well, Todd Larson came in and took some pictures for us. He's a great comedian. And we really appreciate it. And again, thank you very much, Steve Simeone, for being on here. And I'll let you know when it's coming out. It should be on May 29th, I believe. So
perfect.
I'll make sure you plug it and all that.
Should my Instagram, Funny Mofo. There we go.
Funny Mofo, that's Todd Larson. That's his Instagram. He put some funny stuff on there. So check it out. Thanks, everybody, for listening. God bless all of you. Take care. Bye.
That was awesome.
Thanks, buddy.
Steve, we usually get a picture with you guys right next to the sign over there, brother.
Yeah, let's take some pictures.
Get on over there, sucker.
Yeah, absolutely.